this is by implementing an operations research model which can optimize the storage and usage of this battery.
Yeah, so our model inputs is a 100 megawatts nameplate power plant or solar power plant, and a 60 megawatts battery with a 4-hour duration that gives it 240 megawatt hours worth of storage.
So we found some model inputs for CapEx. These are from NREL for both the PV system and the lithium ion battery. For the PV, it was around 126 million, and the lithium ion battery around 80 million. And then we also found OPEX numbers that were projected to depreciate over time and decrease throughout the years. So we implemented this decreasing OPEX in our financial models as well. Next, we looked at the model electricity price and government support. As we mentioned earlier in the presentation, the power price, as we go forward into the future, will be suppressed in the middle of the day and increase in the future. So we have our projected power price throughout the years on the left. And then, as we all know, a lot of green energy projects still need government support. So we analyzed this financial model with a variety of different feed-in premiums. And we chose to go for feed-in premiums because they're less demanding on the state and they provide more incentive for innovation as opposed to feed-in tariffs.
Marcus, can you hear me?
Yes,
yeah,
sure.
The slides are not changing. You might be presenting the wrong screen.
Oh,
okay.
Which one are you stuck on?
Yeah, guys, in interest of time, I'm actually following the slide deck on my own, so we can keep going. That's fine.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right, great.
Yep.
So we're at slide 7 now.
Yeah.
All right, so we implemented this linear programming model. On the left side, we see an average daily profile. This looks at the storage of the batteries and the discharging and charging of it throughout the day. And we assume that an average day can be scaled to represent a full year. On the right side, we see a plot of the revenues for 4 different scenarios where we implement feed-in premiums, where we don't, and where we have batteries and do not have batteries. And we clearly see that implementing these batteries increases the revenue drastically throughout the years.
Yes. And this allows us to jump straight into our model results. So as you can see on this plot, we are analyzing our 2 scenarios, the baseline scenario, which is just investing in the solar park without storage, and our expanded scenarios, which is the solar park with lithium ion storage. We have carried out this analysis throughout all of the feed-in premiums at the different rates. And as you can see, we have roughly around a feed-in premium of $40 per megawatt hour that the project with the lithium ion storage will break even. Another point to mention out here is that the project with the lithium ion storage is actually more profitable than the baseline scenario, while at the same time, this will reduce the risk associated with this investment in the coming years because you have the battery implement. Whoops. All right. So this leads us to our main takeaways from our analysis. So due to the nature of renewable energy technologies and in the future, we will have a higher degree of uncertainty associated with our revenue forecasting.
Yeah. And we found out that including battery storage and optimization for renewable energy investments and financing is a way to secure yourself against uncertainty in the price of electricity in the years to come.
And feed-in premiums were less demanding on the state and provide more incentive for innovation as opposed to feed-in tariffs.
Yeah. So the objective of implementing feed-in premiums is to keep the incentive to increase cost effectiveness of renewable energy technologies so that the renewable energy investments can be standalone in the future.
So thank you for listening, and we're opening up to questions.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Great. No,
Yeah.
no, thank you. Yeah, good. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Did you look into, I guess, the state of feed-in premiums in the state of California, whether that's a current mechanism that you could use, or whether or not that would require some sort of market or regulatory or policy change?
Yeah, so right now, it's mostly actually feed-in tariffs, which we discussed in our opinion through our research are less effective and more costly to the state. Areas like Palo Alto implement this, and their feed-in premium or feed-in tariffs were actually as high as 130 dollars per megawatt hour. Of course, these are more for lower scale projects. I believe it was under 2 megawatt nameplate capacity. But California is really big into subsidizing these solar projects, as it is one of the most green states in the United States.
Got it. So I guess that there's two questions there. You could use, there's a view of kind of the feed-in premium versus feed-in tariff from a policy, kind of an efficient policy angle.
Yes.
We are looking for like the most efficient policy angle.
Yeah.
There's also a view of kind of a feed-in tariff versus feed-in premium from an investor standpoint, and whether or not that increases your returns or reduces your volatility. Do you have any thoughts on kind of which stakeholder would prefer which, and the reasons why?
Yeah, of course. Obviously, the investor would prefer a feed-in tariff because it's guaranteeing their input or their revenue, no matter. But that also decentivizes, innovation, and it makes our battery case infeasible. Because if we can just sell it in the middle of the day for a guaranteed price, that's the same in the peak. It wouldn't make sense to do the battery. And on the other side, in the terms of the state, of course, they're going to prefer a feed-in premium because they're paying less money. And it's going to allow producers of solar technologies to improve and eventually build more into standalone, as we discussed in the main takeaways.
Got it. And so my understanding, feed-in premiums, there's different ways to implement them. They can be constant, they can be sliding. You can put them in with caps, floors. Was there any particular kind of design of feed-in premium you're recommending?
So what we have looked into are the constant feed-in premiums.
The fixed ones.
The fixed, yeah. So we have not looked into the sliding premium. So we wanted to do this. So the first step we took was look into the feed-in tariffs, and then we went down the alley of feed-in premiums with the battery case.
Yeah. And then there's also green certificates, which is like you have a green certificate and you're paid based on the value of that certificate varying throughout the day. But this is even more risky than feed-in premiums, and of course more risky than feed-in tariffs. So we opted not to go for that because we're more on the side of the investor and not the regulation.
Got it.
Can you hear us?
Got it. Yeah, I can hear you. I'm just looking back.
We can also change them. Is our screen sharing now? Can you see the questions, by the way?
Yeah, I can see this now. Describe to me a little bit the model you built. What's the underlying type of model? I think you had mentioned this, but I just want to make sure I caught it. Maybe talking to me a little bit more the methodology. What the objective function is you're optimizing, what the constraints are.
Yeah, sure. So for the linear programming model that we implemented, the objective function is to maximize the price of the investor, the revenue of the investor at the wholesale price. So we have these stocks in the price throughout the day, and with this storage implementation, we're trying to avoid selling at these low. These stocks in the price, and try to store the battery instead, so we can sell that at peak hours later on. So that's kind of the main idea with the model and main implementations.
And another thing is, one of the main assumptions that we've done for this OR model is that currently we're saying that by solving this optimization problem for a single day of the year, this day is going to be representative for the full year.
Yeah.
So something that could be expanded on in the model if more data was available was to do this near real time, and then you'd obtain a much higher resolution for your model.
Yeah. So in order to produce some data, we just tried to narrow it down to something that we could actually try to get a hold of in this limited time.
Thank you, Big DK Energy team. Time is up. We'll move on to the next team. Thank you.